Well, after that little fiasco, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along. Hopefully, you've all found it. Well, I see quite a few of you have found it. So, thank you very much. I don't know what went wrong with the setup because I had it set for Tuesday at 1 o'clock p.m., but it had a hiccup. I'm not sure whether that was YouTube or whether that was StreamYard because it's actually come up on YouTube as the right time and the right day, or the right day, but not the right time. So something along the line. Anyway, partner in crime, let's wake him up. Here we
Hello,
are.
hello. Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, yes. A little bit exhausted, a little bit frustrated because Andy's got problems with his PC as well. Well, he
Yeah,
hasn't. He's got his mouse caught in the mouse trap, I think.
yeah.
But,
The mouse is now pointing at right angles to the direction it should be, and I might
okay.
just about be able to manage. So, apart from that, everything's wonderful.
So I'll put Andy in the back for the time being
Sure.
and see if I can get over to this camera. It's a little bit close, but this is half of the branch, and we know it's a branch because there is the center, the pith, so it's well off center, but that is the pith of the tree. So the tree actually grew this way up. No, it didn't, it grew that way up. So the smaller bit from the center down is the bit that holds it up. So all the strength will be in the wood at the top. So that's half of it, and that's about 9-inch trunk. That was cut January this year. So the bit we're turning is this. You can see where the piths come out there, and it went in there. Went in there, and it comes out there. So it's slightly off center, but hey ho. Let me just fix it onto the lathe.
You got your raincoat on, have you?
Well, it's
Ready to
when
get
I
showered?
cut it. Yeah, when I cut it, it wasn't too bad.
Oh right, okay.
So
Yep.
let's adjust that camera back up because I've been knocking all these around. So you'll center. Let's get rid of the mouse. Let's get rid of that. And what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to turn this in reverse so that all of the wet stuff is thrown away from me, hopefully, and I don't get covered in shavings. I hate that when you're turning and you're covered in shavings. There's nothing more entertaining than that for you guys.
It's
So,
sports sport.
yeah, yeah. So let's clean the glasses off. It's nice to see what you're doing. I'm not putting a full face on. The bark's fairly secure, and with it running in reverse, I shouldn't have an issue with it. So, what can we drive this at? Not sure whether I actually clean the right side of my glasses off. That's better. Uh, that's about 300. Yeah, about 300. Make sure it's all locked down and start to knock the corner off. So we should see a bit later on some fairly long streamers coming off. See if I can get a little bit more volume out of that. Not dancing too bad. Still in the workshop. That's better. So there's the streamers coming off. And I'm not going to run the dust extractor yet because getting that lot jammed in the impeller is fun. So I'm going to start putting a base on this. Hopefully Andy can manage to work the mouse enough so that he can read out who's in the chat.
Yeah, I think I've got myself ready for that. So
right. So before Andy does that, welcome everybody. Thank you for the coming with us, and sorry about the hiccup. But sit back and enjoy. over to you, Andy.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm on to YouTube, and I've got the list up. So I'm not going to do it on participants because that never seems to work. So Tommy's Workshop was first one in, and followed swiftly followed by Keith, and then Rob Copperell Wood Turning, Barry Chitty, Chris Dodds, Michael McEwen, Colin Izzard, Four King Owls, David, isn't it?
Rob.
Oh, Rob, is it another Rob? Okay.
Is it Rob?
Somebody's David.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll tell us, put us straight. My memory's going, it's my age. Clive Rogerson, Robert Dolman, Brickhouse Woodworks.
That's Seth. Yeah.
Weavy Woodshed is Andrew. I know.
Andrew.
Same as me, so I can remember that. David J. Heath, Guildford Carpenter. So far, the mouse is staying where I put it, which is quite good. Done all those. Roger Kent. Oh, hello, I've lost him now. Oh, that jumped. Sorry, give me a little while. I should be. Oh, there we are. Roger Kent. Yep. Wood Turnings by Barry. I think I'm getting somewhere near the bottom now.
Right, let's bring you up a bit.
Oh, Colin. Wood Wizardry by Colin. Webfoot Resin and Wood Creations. And I'm there. Phew, got through that. But it's not easy when the mouse doesn't do what you expect it to.
These little challenges that we have.
Usually technical. Benjamin is in. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Ben. Hi, everybody.
Batten down the hatches.
That's better. And it's not throwing off much sap at all.
Oh, good.
Which is a bonus.
Tony Foster's in.
That's a name I haven't seen before. I don't think.
No, I was just trying to remember whether I had. I don't think I have. No. So welcome, Tony.
Welcome, everybody.
Yep, indeed.
I'm hoping to finish this completely. But I'm going to oil it rather than a high gloss finish, as it's coming off wet but not coming off dripping wet. I said you should see some nice shavings coming off. That's a continuous...
Taxi Tony, you know him as, apparently.
Oh yeah, hi Tony. No work today then, sitting in there with the phone on, I don't know. It's funny how you know people by a nickname and when they put a message out to you, but sometimes the surname escapes us.
Yeah, that's right. Chris Dodd, Sidley61 is in.
Hiya, guys.
Says good afternoon all.
Right, let's see what that looks like in the way of the outside shape. It's the sort of shape that I'm after. That looks actually quite good.
Nice bit of grain on there.
Well, there's the centre going one way, and there's the centre the other way. That's the pith of the tree.
Yeah, it's got nice markings around it though.
Yeah, there's a few tool markings as well. Let's see if I can get rid of a few of those. But, as it's wet, it's cuts almost too easy. So,
something we don't see very often from you, Keith.
No, my small scraper.
Yeah.
but it just helps ride out the few lumps.
Yep.
And that feels really smooth when it's coming around wet. There's a little bit over the back there I just need to take off. So again, negative rate scraper, tool rest up a bit more than normal. Like very light pressure.
Oh, it looks as though Ben's new lathe has arrived at 7 o'clock this morning.
Does he know what 7 o'clock was? Riz?
well, he's written it down, so
He does now.
There's a possibility. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
You'll enjoy that, Ben.
Just put a mortise on the bottom, as this is wet. So mark it out for the F jaws. Calipers preset. They're the right ones. Had all the tools set out here, and then I buried them all. So this will be a full depth mortise to the full 5mm, so that we've got a little bit of security there as well.
Brian at Hartwood Turning is in.
Hello, Brian.
Brian.
Spindle gouge. It just allows me a little bit more control going in.
Chris Glanville is in.
Oh,
Sorry,
Chris.
I'm late. Sorry, I'm late. He says. Didn't
Yeah, he
realise
did say he was going to try and get in. He might not see much of yours tonight, Andy, because he's got a club meeting.
Oh, right. Okay, that's fair enough.
But it'll be on catch up.
Oh, yes, it'll be there. Christine and Michael Heseltine
Hi, guys. Well, the only thing we've omitted to let everyone know, Andy, is the weather forecast up
the
in
weather
West
we
Sussex.
haven't done it. Yeah, it's lovely.
No, it's beautiful. It was
lovely sun shining and
yeah,
yeah,
it was
a little
showing
bit fresh,
just shy of 15 degrees when I come down to the
really
workshop.
doesn't feel that warm, but it's
No.
it's lovely and sunny.
Right, so I'm going to just about see that. I'm going to pip the centre so that I know where it is when I turn it round, because I should probably turn a decent foot on this. But I also want to be able to remount it to polish it.
Benjamin says he was eyeing up all the other toys in the back of his lorry and quite fancied the drill press.
No.
I've got the Axminster one, the one that moves backwards and forwards. It's quite nice. It's quite useful.
If there was one item out of my workshop that I would dispose of, it would be the drill press.
It's not the most used, certainly.
Yeah. No.
Oh, Douglas Mungham's in. Hello, Douglas.
Let's see if I can get.
No, and you can a lot of the time you can do the drilling on the lathe anyway. So.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a better shot for you guys, so you can. A little bit off centre.
6 degrees centigrade and raining where he is. So.
Well, someone's got to have the bad weather. Right, bit of 80 grip. Drop the speed right down. And you can just about see that's coming off as dust, but the only thing is it does block up the paper.
Yep.
So I'm not expecting to get a fantastic finish off of this. But you can see a little bit of dust coming off the paper. You can't, but you would if I took the camera back a bit. See the rooster tail coming off. Yep, I can see it now on the camera. But that's totally clogged up that side straight away. You can roll it off and reuse it. So it's wet. That's not a problem. I'm going to oil it. I'm going to oil it before I turn it round, so that some of the oil will soak in a bit.
Ben's taking issue with you about the drill press. Every man shed needs a drill press, even if it's a little benchtop model. Mine's a big benchtop model, but
Yeah, I've got the portable model. It's
it's
18 volt.
sometimes it's useful, but
Mm,
it is one of the lesser used pieces of equipment, I think, in mine.
yeah. Like I say, if I needed to make space, that would be the first thing that went. And I've got a big floor standing 12 speed Axminster old. No, it's not Axminster. It's Woodcraft, I believe. But it's a big. No, it's a 16 speed. But
Right.
the amount of times I use it, you can count on both feet.
Yeah.
So what does that look like now? Well, I think that is fairly acceptable, seeing that it's wet. So that was 80. Go straight down to 120. And just to
Colin
get rid of
said he
the...
was given a drill press by his father-in-law. Only problem is it doesn't have a chuck key. If you go to eSpares, you can get all sorts of chuck keys to fit anything.
Yeah, you need to know what the
You need
chuck
to give
is,
us
though,
details. Yeah, they ask you the right questions, if I remember rightly.
because there are so many different chuck keys out there.
Yep.
4 different chucks. Even the Jacobs chuck, I think someone told me there was 17 different chuck keys for a half-inch chuck.
Yep, that's quite possible.
Yep. So quite happy with that shape, quite happy with the finish on there. I can re-sand, carry on sanding as it dries out. So for an oil, I'm going to use
Food safe, yep.
the food safe finish because it's a bowl. So I'm going to fairly liberally brush this on, knowing that I can...
Wait for the zing.
Yeah, it won't zing quite so much as dry would.
No, but that middle bit's come up nicely.
Yeah. Yes, all of a sudden it takes on a different colour. But I can, and I might even wet sand this, because I've had several questions ask me in possibly Messenger, wet sanding, how would you do it? Can you use normal abrasive, the like, or do you have to use wet and dry? No, do you have to use wet and dry? No, you can use any of the abrasives, providing they're good quality.
And as somebody said earlier, Abronet's quite good because when it dries, you can then just knock out all the stuff that's stuck.
Mm.
To some extent, I mean, there is some that sticks, but
Yeah,
it does give it a little bit more life.
so this end grain is drinking it quicker than I can put it on, particularly over the pith centre. But let's get some in there. That is quite wet, but I'm not worried about that.
Yes, Douglas, you can. That's what Keith's planning to do, I think. Could you
What's
wet
that?
sand with oil?
Yes, yes. So I finished at 120. I'm going to start at 120. The thing you need to do is to drop the speed down, because otherwise you'll be showering in food safe oil. So build up a bit of a slurry.
May be safe to eat, but it probably doesn't taste too good.
And if you haven't got food safe oil, you can use mineral oil, which is baby oil. I've dropped the speed right down to about 180, 200, just to work the oil in. And that's the slurry on the paper, which you can expect, and the paper will take it. This is Velcro backed, cloth backed, normal stuff that I use and can supply. If anyone's interested, message me for prices. hasn't gone up since last time, so it's still 170 a metre plus postage. So that's gone over that, and that's coming off. You can just about see it on the paper quite well. I can always remount this anyway.
Brian Watkins is in. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Brian. The only bit I'm going to dry out a fraction is the mortise, so it doesn't spin around quite so much on the chuck. So that's burnished that off, that's dried that oil in, sunken it in there a bit. I'm quite happy with that. So without further ado, we will change that round. Just lightly spin it to get rid of any shavings, dust if there is any in there. Don't go excessively tight, but you can certainly tighten it down. And after this has been spinning for 4 or 5 minutes, I will just give it a tweak again, just to make sure. Let's push the camera back in a bit. Somewhere about there.
Should do it, yep.
Again in reverse. I'm just going to clean up that edge. It's always easier to come in from the edge. There's quite a bounce on that. It's 4mm out of true. So I need to get a bit of speed in there now. Not quite. So that's round and flat. Now, how thin or thick are we going to leave this? It's always a question. It's wet, so it's going to move, hopefully. How much is it going to move? It's not dripping wet. It's freshly cut. So it was cut January before the sap started to rise.
But it should move a bit unevenly with that centre being off centre, shouldn't it? The pith being off centre. So it could be interesting.
The only problem with wet wood is it does clog up the flute of your chisel.
Yeah, Malcolm Douglas is in. Welcome.
So now I've got the lathe running forward and I'm pushing all the shavings away from me. So the only shavings that I've got on me is what you can see on my arm. A few specks down the front of me, but I'm not wearing a lot of it.
Not covered.
No. Now I want to try and finish this wall-wise as I work down. Because once it starts to dry, which it will do, it will also start to deform its shape, which is okay for sanding, but you don't really want to be pointing a sharp bit of metal at it. When it grabs, it does grab. The only disadvantage with wet shavings is they do build up.
Rob Hodgepodge has joined us.
Hello, mate. Let's take this faceplate ring off. And I did have this on with 6 screws, and unlike normally, just 3. There's 4-inch ones, 4 1-inch ones, and 2 1.25-inch ones. That's what I found in the box anyway. Didn't move. Look at that's tannin, that black mark. So you need to be careful. And that was screwed on there late yesterday afternoon.
So it's just overnight, really. Yeah.
Yep. That's how quick tannin can react to it. If the camera moves, it's my shoulder that's pushing it. So we're still at about 450. Not a massive amount of speed. That's cutting an absolute dream. So we've got fine shavings coming off, or we've got nearly 1/2 inch wide, that shaving. So you can use the full wing or just the point of the tool. A little bit of a ridge there. Checked with the digital calipers. Just there where my thumb is, I can feel a little bit of a ridge. That's the disadvantage. It builds up on the back of the chisel.
Returning by Barry is asking, is the sandpaper in 1 metre lengths or longer?
Yes.
It is in 1 metre lengths, yes.
Yep.
Douglas Mungham asks, is it a good idea to remove any tanning marks off the faceplate ring?
That will be wiped over later on before it's put away.
But they are stainless, so it's not that serious. It's not squeaking clean. But
yeah, this one is a stainless one. It's the Axminster one. There's very little marking on the back of it, the bit that was screwed on. Bear with me a second, guys. Let's see who's trying to get hold of me. No caller ID, so that's another no-no then. Don't bother to answer that. I'm happy with that wall thickness. I've got a nice uniform wall thickness right to the bottom. So look at the way that's cutting.
It's lovely, isn't it? Good stuff. Oh, Jennifer's in. Jennifer Craft and Creation.
You've got miles of it. Where are we? You've got miles of it there. And it's cutting the sap and the heartwood just as easy.
Still joined together, yeah.
Yeah. Let's get rid of that centre.
Ben's saying his faceplate rings have got a thin layer of rust. Mine haven't. They've been sitting out here for quite a long time. But, I thought they were stainless.
The only one that's got a spot of rust on, is it rust or is it? No. Even my very old F faceplate ring has just got rubbish on the back.
Yeah,
It's
sort of
not.
resin
It's not
marks on
rust.
it.
Yeah, it's not rust.
Douglas has asked me how I sharpen my gouges. I've got the Tormek system with the T4 stone on it, with the diamond stone, and I love it. It's a bit slow, but I don't mind. I've got time.
You're retired, so we're not looking at doing it in breakneck speed.
No, it gives you a lovely finish, and that's more important to me than speed.
I have the Tormek jigs set up on my bench grinder. So I use the Tormek jigs to hold the gouges, and I could easily take them over to Andy and get him to fine hone them, but I don't need to. I can get a nice cutting edge.
The fine stone you can, yeah.
And I do most of my sharpening on a CBN wheel on one end, and I've got a white stone on the other. The full rest has jumped up a fraction.
It's a little bit more controllable on the Tormek because it's so slow. You don't take off more than you should do. But it's usually the other way around.
But having said that, if you don't press too hard, you don't take much off.
Nope, true.
You're in control of the speed of and the weight you've got against the stone. So
that's the main thing, is that you are in control, isn't it, really? You get the result you want then. Bye, David. Webfoot Resin and Wood Creations is going.
Okay.
Back to work.
Do you want to stick your link in for tonight, Andy, before too many disappear?
I will try. I'll just go back over to YouTube and I'll try putting the right hand one. It says paste. Hey, I've done it. Well, this is not easy with the mouse sideways on, but I've done it. It's there. Thank you. Yep, that's my link for tonight.
So it's little pill pots, about 3.5 inch diameter pill pots.
Yeah, they're going to vary a little bit in diameter, but yeah, they're that sort of size. Yes, yeah. And I think I should do some sort of closed form and some opened, because it depends what you use, how you use them. If you just tip the pills into your hand and chuck them in your mouth, then the closed form is actually quite nice because they don't pop out when you don't want them to. But if you want to slide them up with one finger, take them one at a time, then you need the open form. So I should probably do one of each. That's my plan.
So anyway. Standard ground for me, 45-degree chisel, 45 from the inside to the first bevel, and then I'd take the heel off. So I reduced the amount of metal. Just about see it there in the picture.
Yes, you can see it. Yeah.
So I go in and I climb up and I drop back down. That's a little bit exaggerated, but even on a 10 mil, this is one of my 10 mil, which is a bit.
Yeah.
You can't really see it. It's not wanting to focus. At exactly the same grind, 45 mil for the primary grind, and knock back off the heel off to whatever I fancy, and all my chisels are the same. But like I say, I'm doing all of this with the big 1/2 inch bowl gouge. So go in with it pretty well closed. Pick up the cut just there. Push it uphill.
Is in. So I'm just trying to fight my mouse at the
moment. Get rid of
the... Chris at Bailey Woodworks is in. Pete Twisted Trees is in.
Hello, Pete. You're going uphill and rolling it down, still on the bevel, to finish at centre. one of the tricks that we were shown by Les Thorne when I was learning was to do exactly what I'm showing you, and as you come into the center you end up with a little pip barely moving. You should, I just dropped it, but you can actually catch it in the flute. A little bit of a ring just there.
Oh, Roy's the boy. Sorry, I missed your question, Roy, and I do apologise. He's asking what size, how big the bowl is, basically.
I think it was nearly 9 inches. It's 8 1/4. It's going to finish by just on 3 deep. It's not a massive bowl. Nice sort of size to practice on. Because if you're turning it in dry wood, seasoned wood, I don't know about anyone else, but I get God knows how many bumblebees in my workshop. There's another one just come in.
All right.
Can you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, get out. Oh, he's gone the wrong end now. Yeah. Go on, doors that end. You go out.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And there's a question from Pete Twisted Trees. Says, question, Keith, do you take that centre nub with the left or right wing? Been watching myself recently, and I do tend to roll under it and finish it on the left flute.
No, I'm taking it on the bottom wing. I do virtually all my cutting on the bottom wing. And I'm one of those that will cut rather than put it in the middle and do a pull cut, which is actually a scrape. So I'm cutting just below, I'm cutting about there, which is about 1 o'clock with it fully closed. I'm just opening it a fraction and just cutting just off the nose, and I've got a fairly round grind on the nose. I know a lot of people end up, if they're not careful, going more to the spindle gouge profile, which is more of a point or more pointed than round. If you use a spindle gouge, which you can do in there carefully, you won't get underneath of it and you won't get such a good cut. But there we are, picking it up on the nose of the cut. There's a fair amount of movement on that bottom already.
Mark Straunton's in, by the way.
Hello, Mark.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Parked up somewhere or finished work? So that's still on that bottom wing. I'm easing it through. I'll leave it just there, clear the flute. So you can see it. There's more on the point bottom wing. Just dropped off again because it's wet. But you can gently pick it up. Pick it up on the nose of the tool. Hope that answers, Pete. Oh, there's a massive swirl in there. I'm going to have to bang up the volume a bit to get rid of that. Come on. Because all that's been hollowed out at about 450.
Oh, Jennifer says that Mark is just getting up as he's working tonight.
Okay.
So.
Have you got his eggs and bacon ready then, Jennifer? A little bit more speed on there. Exactly the same cut. And hopefully that's cleaned up the bottom.
comments about the grain pattern, and Robert Hodgepodge has commented on the nearly split down the middle between Heartwood and Sapwood. It's quite a
It's not
straight line,
split.
isn't it? No,
Yeah,
no,
it's
but
not.
it's quite a straight line.
Yeah, yeah, it's not split, and it won't
No.
split, and I'm quite happy with that. And it's through oiling the outside, it's kept the moisture in as well.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing that I was going to say to you guys. If you do oil it before you do anything much to the inside of it, you can stop some of the sap blowing through. If you don't do anything, you can end up with a lot of the sap passing through the outside. So you just need to just true up that bottom. So this is exactly the same grind on a round scraper, just very lightly passing it over.
Jennifer says no, Keith. I think that was about the breakfast.
You're not going to give him breakfast in bed? Oh,
And
Jennifer.
Mark says he hasn't even got his coffee yet.
Oh, I think they'll have to have a word with that household. Let's see what that looks like. No, it's just a little bit just on this very edge. I've got to be very gingerly. I left myself a silly little mark, which I didn't.
Sounds as though it's moved too much yet, though.
No, it's pretty good. And that's another reason to think about oiling the outside before you turn it round. I don't do a lot of wet wood turning, but I've found that any wood that's cut beginning of the year from sort of end of November to December, you can save it by oiling it straight away once you've turned the outside. That will dry quite a bit lighter. Let's see if I can get a little bit better out down the bottom there. I'm just floating the tool against the wood. I'm not pressing it. I'm letting the wood come onto the tool rather than forcing the tool into the wood. And this one's like all of my neg rakes, ground at 45. Works for me.
Yep.
That's better. That's better. There's a little bit of movement just there. Oh, you can see it. You can see it there where it started to dry. I'll see if I can get a little bit out just there on that part.
Seth's back. He didn't know he'd gone, but he's back. He had a work-related phone call. So.
Rob saying he can't tell us how many times work's get in the way. I can guess.
It's worth being retired, I tell you. Work doesn't get in the way at all.
No, I've just lost the edge on that. So platform already set at 45 degrees. So soon put a sharper edge on it. There you go, that's the difference it makes. And that is dust coming off of there. I just wonder what that noise was. It's the bench grinder running down.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Take a long time, don't they?
Yeah. Just need a little bit off the very inside edge.
Ben made a comment. Oh, you mean I have to get rid of the nub?
Don't have to, Ben.
Pete says, Ben, it's all right. Auto nub removal comes as standard on the 406. I wish.
You can always make it a feature of your work, Ben.
Yeah, Ben says, I think the nub adds character.
Yeah. Internal handle for when it's empty.
Yeah.
So I'm scraping on the left, but looking on the right. So I can see quite clearly where I am and where the tool is actually cutting. I'm hoping that that is, apart from sanding, the turning done. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that for wet wood. Yeah, that'll do. So drop the speed back down. Find a breeze block. It's too fast. About 200 when it's wet. And it does come off as dust. I don't know whether you can see it. I don't think you can. Andy's phone now.
Yep, just ignore it. I am. I'm assuming she's going to answer it. Good.
I'm just going to knock the corners off, inside and out. That was 80. Find a new bit of 120. I cut a couple of bits of each before I started, so I knew I'd got some. Bloody bees back again, buzzing around my feet.
Huh? It's funny, they seem to like dust, don't they? They seem to get most.
Well, it's probably apple, and it's fairly sweet.
Oh, yeah,
being a fruit
smell,
wood.
Yeah. Sense.
That's my explanation of it. So there's the inside done. That will all get out. That will all sand up much better when it's dry. But it'll be a slow process because, like I say, this was cut January when the sap was not rising.
Makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, cut it down between the sap falling and the sap rising, and you can get away with not murder, but you can get away with quite a bit. If you cut it down in the summer or in the spring as the sap rising, you're asking for problems.
I assume those cracks that have just appeared are just bristles off your brush, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a bristle.
That's all right then. It didn't move when you went over it. I thought, oh, hello, what's going on there then? That's all right.
It's a bristle. It's only a cheap 3 for £1, I think.
Yeah.
1/2 inch brush which goes in. So the end grain down the bottom there. And the end grain there is really drinking it. So put the paintbrush down rather than throw it down. Put the lid on so I don't knock it over. But again, that was Chestnut's Food Safe finish in there. Any oil you could use, but that one was to hand, and it's going to be a fruit bowl. So let's find another bit of 120. That is the only disadvantage with wet work. It does clog the paper up. You do use 3-4 times the amount of paper, but paper's cheap.
Yeah, it is.
about 15p worth there for nearly 3 inches. So I'm not going to complain about that.
Nobody would listen if you did, so.
No. So that's straight onto the oil, wet sanding it with a bit of 120. And you just get the slurry on the paper.
Yeah.
Just about see it there.
Yeah, can indeed.
When that's dry in a couple of days, I'll be able to roll that over a sharp edge, a tool rest, and that will all flake off. So I'll be able to use it again because I haven't worn out the abrasive, I just filled it up. So with just pull it over a tool rest and that will all crack off. So, a bit of paper. I come prepared, I had a bit in my back pocket. It's not going to look very pretty today when we take it off the lathe, apart from you can see the grain.
Yeah, which is rather nice. Yeah, very nice.
So the centre of this branch was there and there.
Yep.
So it's well off centre of the tree. So that is the heartwood, and this is the sapwood, and there's a very little bit of sapwood down that side. So quite pleased with that.
That's nice. It is good, yeah.
Nice bit of, there's actually a little bit of pinkish colour just there. That light section,
yeah.
That's pink against the cream. So this one's got to go back to the person that that left me the wood. And when they left it like that. So the dark bit is that section.
Yep.
And the white bit is that section. So that's the other half of that log.
I just put my link in there for tonight.
Again, well done. Yep, no problem. So fairly quick turning because we're not sanding it up to 1000 grit or whatever. We're not using Yorkshire grit or anything like that on it. We're using the oil as a lubricant. Pete's put in an apple, often has nice surprises inside. You're never quite sure on the colour, Pete. It can be quite bland. I've had anything from a more maroon to a very subtle red in different pieces.
Even looking at where that piece has been cut, you can't see that grain is going to look like that.
No,
until
not
you
from the
sand it and smooth it.
Yeah, not from the outside.
No. So yeah, it's lovely. Nice.
So a quick one today.
I'm back. Behave yourself.
You're back. Yeah. Good job you got your trousers on.
I have. Yeah. Not that you can see that, but yeah.
No. Yeah. So I do apologise for the screw up in the link and various bits and pieces, but like I say, I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, but you dealt with it this morning.
Did it?
So
does that oil give a different look, feel to lemon oil? It doesn't smell like lemon oil, Ben, because it's the food safe finish, because I'm expecting people to use it as a fruit bowl. That's what it's basically designed as, a bowl to hold.
But the feel of
fruit.
Oil is sort of the feel of oil, isn't it? Really.
Once this dries, once this dries, it can be lightly sanded, buffed back, and waxed if necessary.
Yeah.
But for all of my fruit bowls that I sell, I always say to people after they paid for it, if you're going to put fruit in it, because it's a fruit bowl, cut yourself a square of, put the cameras back to front, square of cling film, drop it in the bottom. It won't hide the grain, but it'll save the grain from being attacked by the acid of the fruit. So that's up to you guys whether you do the same or whether you tell them to keep it nice and highly polished. That's got to go back to Pete down in the railway down at the museum, mate.
All right.
Pete, I can't think of his name now. But
several Pete's on there.
Yeah, but that's where it come from. His daughter had it
Right.
cut down, I believe, or it come over from a daughter's neighbour. I'm not quite sure of the details, but the problem is you speak to Pete and it's not a 5-minute conversation.
Very rarely.
So that's it, guys. So
Yes,
if you've
that's
got
lovely.
any questions, and I appreciate you 31 of you still being there after 56 minutes, I will try and answer it. How many coats of oil do you typically apply? Well, that was one very liberal one to start with, so that I could use it as a lubricant for sanding, wet sanding, which works exactly the same as you using Yorkshire grit on dry wood. So you can use any oil to sand, you can use any wax as a wet sanding medium. Cool, Barry Chitty's actually managed to watch the whole session. Well done, Barry.
It's
You
quite
normally
impressive,
miss
isn't
out. Yeah, yeah, you're normally on kid control. Or sort of.
Something like
So
that.
yeah, so you can put on as many coats as you wish. If it was a Danish oil or a tung oil, you can put it on, let it dry, let it cure, and then put another coat on and build it up. 4 or 5 coats, let it cure good and proper before you buff it up. You can actually buff tung oil and Danish oil, but I'm not sure whether you could buff this or whether you'd want to higher gloss finish on this as well. So that's entirely up to you. But through wet sanding it, it's gone a nice satin feel to it. It feels quite nice and smooth. It's where's the camera?
To you.
You can just see it starting to dry there, where the colour's changed. And there's a little bit on the bottom there as well where it's starting to dry, but I'm not worried about that. Another couple of coats of oil.
I was going to say soon
Wiped
sort that
on.
out. Yep.
Yeah, wiped rather than brushed on. I do tend to brush it on quite liberally to start with so that it goes in. Does waxing a finish piece work the same as sealing a blank in stopping the moisture loss? I wouldn't wax this until it's pretty dry, Brian. I don't want to seal in too much moisture, but the oil I've found stops the moisture evaporating quite as quick. So typically if it evaporated overnight, I could come back to this tomorrow and find it quite oval where it's shrunk in on the sides. But I'm expecting that to be pretty good tomorrow. It might have moved about 1 mil, 1.5 mil. Not a great deal. If I remember tonight, I'll bring the one that I've got indoors, which is turned a good few many years ago, left it overnight when I was learning. So it's about 8-10 years old. It had gone, well, it's like a Pringle, the outside of it. But I didn't finish it quick enough. I don't know why. Didn't have the knowledge that I've got now. So, and Pete's put in there. Chestnut food safe oil is a mineral based oil, so it won't harden. While finishing oil is a tongue based, so it can be polished. Yeah, but you can get a sheen to the food safe oil, and you can wax it if you wish. You can once it's dry, once it's soaked in. I wouldn't personally. I would leave it in the satin sheen and tell the people, either baby oil or go and buy some food safe oil to redo it. You can get food safe oil now from many places because it's the chopping board oil, exactly the same as. I think Terry's got one different component in it, but I buy my mineral oil by the litre. I don't know that there's a name on it. Butcher's Block white oil.
butcher's block chopping board. Yeah, similar.
Yeah. So that's what I
Same idea.
use on anything, and you can actually use it as a end seal as well. But,
Yes, it would have the same effect, wouldn't it?
yeah, high purity mineral white oil, suitable to heat and oxidize, stable to heat and oxidization. Meets God knows how many food standards in the US and over here as well. So it's got an expiry date on it, which I can't quite understand why when it's a mineral oil, but that's next year anyway, 23. But that's C. Bennis Supplies and Services, white butcher block oil. If anyone's interested, that's on eBay. I think that was less than £2 for that. It's cheaper than baby oil.
It's a
baby
cheap finish,
oil,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, baby oil has got a scent to it as well, so that you can smell which end of the baby you're oiling.
Yes.
Hi, Peter. Yes, you have missed it, but it'll be up for watching later on.
Yeah. Good morning, Peter. Tomorrow morning, that is.
Yeah. So, well, both Andy and I appreciate you coming over. It saves me talking to Andy all the time, and
well, yeah, it gets boring, doesn't it?
Yeah. But come along tonight and see a bit of dry wood turning, and I know it's dry wood turning because I know where the wood come from.
Yep.
Part of it's from Papua New Guinea, and the other part of it is from the Warnham Park estate. So it's
that's right. Yeah,
it's an offcut of some really older yew.
Some yew. I mean, because they're such small bowls, they're sort of little offcuts that it's good to use up. To be honest,
it's part of the triangles that you get out of slightly bigger blanks.
Yep.
If you're cutting them out of a board. So come over and watch Andy tonight, because I should be giving it some verbal for him.
I'm sure you will.
As we always do. Answering the questions if you've got any, guys. If you haven't got any, you're still welcome to come over and annoy us.
Here. Hopefully, I won't have to touch the computer too much because this mouse is driving me mad.
Okay.
I'm going to investigate that and find out what I had to do about it.
You by chance? Yes, it is, Douglas. Most of the thanks that I let Andy have yesterday were you.
Yeah. Of the three that I've got prepared for tonight, 2 are you and 1 isn't. So it's Merbau.
Or Merbau.
Something like that. Yeah.
Papua New Guinea.
Merbau. I looked it up because I could never remember it.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks,
no, it's
Rob.
nice. It's
thanks,
nice,
Barry. Yeah. So thank you all, guys. Yeah.
Can't really see the grain on that.
No,
but it is quite nice. Yeah.
It's reddy pink in places and sort of straw in others. But, it is certainly a stunning wood.
Yeah.
I think if I go down to the end, don't know how well this will come up on the camera. But this end, you've got a little bit of sap, and that is quite red underneath of it, and then it goes into orange, and it's quite a nice wood. That's one of the pen blank offcuts that came off of the same lump of wood that Andy's got there for 2 or 3 of his little pots. Don't waste anything.
I should explain why I'm turning out a variety of little pots. I shall explain that tonight.
Yeah.
So.
And wood turnings by Barry. Are you live next? When?
Right. So tonight is me, and then next Tuesday lunchtime is me, and evening is Rich.
Evening is Rich. Yeah.
So the next time Keith's on is the 29th of March at lunchtime. It's 2 weeks.
So we've got a special that we're going to do on that one because I'm doing the lunchtime. Andy's doing the evening. We've both got half of a log.
As near identical as you can get.
Yeah. We can show them. I can show mine now.
So can I.
Yeah,
I'll show you. It's got an A on it to prove that it is different.
and mine's got a K on it. But if you look at them, that knot there is exactly
Sorry,
the
yeah,
same as what Andy's got
yeah. Just
on.
by my hand there.
Yeah, by his little pinky.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they were cut from the same log.
And the other side
So
have got a bit missing on both edges.
yeah,
As I said, there is
mine's
near to
slightly more
identical.
red, and I've got a little bit more
Yeah,
interesting grain on the bottom than what you've got on yours. But that's
yeah.
you chose
But
the blank, so it's not me
it's
giving you a
it's
gaff
as
blank.
near identical as you can get, isn't it? Really.
Yeah,
To
and
be
that
honest.
again is Merbau. So that's for a fortnight's time, guys. So Andy, we're doing it as two separates. I'll do mine lunchtime, and then Andy will do his little bowl in the evening.
Different approaches and see
Yeah,
what comes out of it.
yeah.
We're not discussing design of the bowl or anything.
No,
I shall obviously know what Keith's done by the time I do mine, but it won't affect what I do. I've got an idea of what I want to do, so it'll stick with that, I expect.
yeah, yeah. And I know what more or less what I'm doing because some of the shape of the wood dictates it. But the final result will be revealed in a fortnight's time. So I'm going to go and hit the off button. I'm going to go and grab a cup of coffee.
Yep, and I'll say goodbye.
And we'll see you all tonight. Thank you all for coming over. Hopefully you've all subscribed and you've liked. And most of you must have hit the bell button underneath of it because you all come over after me screwing up. Well, did I screw it up or did StreamYard or YouTube
Whatever.
screw it up? Whoever, yeah. But thanks all. We're going now. So bye-bye for now and see you all tonight, hopefully.